How many of you are experiencing this right now? You installed OpenCloud on your laptop because billions of tutorials out there are telling you this lobster is gonna take over your work like your assistant, so you can easily profit from the market while sleeping, playing video games, or whatever. But you can barely find a use case in your day-to-day life. If you watched a bunch of YouTube videos teaching you how to become a 10 times engineer and AI native, I don't know, sometimes in 27 minutes, but other times just in 9 minutes. I have no clue how they figured this out, but I'm pretty sure you still don't have idea what being an AI native truly means. I'm also pretty certain on social media you stumbled across titles like AI won't replace you, but those know how to use AI well. Then you start to question, am I not good enough? Okay, maybe I don't know enough AI tools. Should I all in AI? Or maybe should I just reformulate my whole career? So whenever there's a new LLM release, you go to register and test it immediately. You've collected lots of so-called best prompts from tutorials. You've also subscribed to many AI newsletters, hoping they can keep you up to date on new AI trends. You've also bought online courses, learning this today, then that tomorrow. Great, you've certainly learned a ton of shit, but somehow still feel like going to nowhere. Then, did you ever ask yourself this question? Am I really doing this out of curiosity or just the fear of missing out? You know, I'm talking about you. And if so, you should stick around to the end. That's why you're still here. That's why you're gonna learn from me why chasing AI hype is a terrible idea, why nowadays social media sells so much anxiety around AI, and instead of siding with the majority, what you should do to truly grasp AI knowledge and on top of that, feel inner peace. So, let's start with a brief live update from last Tuesday. I joined a tech event from Google developer community in Warsaw. In the first 2 hours of the event that night, everyone was sitting in the big room watching the official video from Google I/O 2026 conference. It was certainly a very informative session. We were learning new AI tools from Google, but after 9 to 5 during the day, my mind can barely focus on the video. I was sitting there like this, and gradually feeling a bad headache kicked in. Then I noticed many people sitting next to me started to chat, scroll on their phone, or doing something on their laptops. The funny thing is, there was a Polish guy falling asleep on the couch and he was literally snoring. And let me be very honest with you. What I can only recall today from the video, it's just a bunch of AI tools names like Gemini 3.5 models, new Gemini Omni, Gemma 4, Google Anti-Gravity, blah blah blah. They kind of came in through my left ear and out through the right one. Oh, by the way, I can also recall I grabbed the 2 slices of free pizza. So my key takeaway from the experience is that your attention nowadays is your currency. It's scarce and therefore precious. When you put your attention in one thing, it's really hard to distribute too much of it to others. For those of you who are watching this video, I bet you have a priority that has taken most of your mental bandwidth in your day-to-day life. Maybe it's your study, maybe it's your 9 to 5. I know you're a bit of anxious about lagging behind of others, but chasing AI hypes in such condition will only be a recipe to burnout. You register vibe coding online courses today, you installed Codex, Cloud Code, Cursor AI, you don't want to miss RAG, MCP, harness engineering either. You also want to try image generation features from GPT Image 2, but the hard truth is, you not only don't have that much attention, but also your existing attention is too much divided and scattered here and there. You're being carried away by external noise rather than just focus on one thing that can maximize the positive outcomes you can get. The study shows nowadays the average attention span of an adult has collapsed from to just 47 seconds, down from 2.5 minutes in 2004, and it takes around 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully refocus after a single interruption. You've probably heard of a 10,000 hour rule, meaning if you want to get mastery in any domain, you must commit 10,000 hours. So 47 seconds versus 10,000 hours. If every 40 seconds you are distracted by AI hypes, you can never reach 10,000 hours. And have you ever watched any documentary about wildlife or nature? I can recall during my childhood, there was one called Animal World, played on a Chinese TV program every Saturday morning. At the time, I was always so impressed by the scene where hundreds of thousands of wild animals racing in the vast savanna during migration season. To some extent, I think chasing AI AI hypes feels like chasing a speeding white animal. You have to hurtle towards the same direction. You feel exhausted, but you have no choice if your goal is to get one. If you manage to catch one, you may struggle so hard and escape from your control. If one falls into prey, you may realize other choices are better, so it's very likely that you end up with empty hands. Likewise, there are always be new models, new skills, new agentic coding tools, and they will only get more advanced and be updated at faster pace. Chasing hypes gives you a sense of thrill and freshness, which is followed by a quick release of dopamine. But dopamine will gradually give sway to cortisol, a type of a pressure hormone, as what you've learned becomes out of date before it's fully digested. So eventually, anxiety and frustration take over, but you mistakenly equate it with security. No, it's not. It's a circle called intermittent reinforcement in psychology, while the real security boils down to applying a freshly learned AI tool to solve real-life problems in a continuous workflow, even though this tool is nothing fancy at all. The worst part isn't that you're wasting time, it's that chasing AI hypes makes you feel like you're learning. That's why I'm offering you the second reason. Chasing new AI trends gives you a delusion of mastering a new skill. You get a sense of achievement for what you freshly grasp, but here are some questions you need to ask yourself. Why am I learning this? Is it because it shows a potential to fix a real pain point? Or how much of it is actually applicable to solve real problems on your daily work and life? Did I even try to apply what I've learned? Let's talk about the vibe coding so that you will get what I mean. Hundreds of thousands of online courses or YouTube tutorials out there teach you how to vibe code with natural human language. It usually feels quite straightforward to follow through. You need to install the agentic AI coding editor, can be Codex, Cloud Code, Cursor, or GitHub Copilot. Then they give you a brief introduction to the IDE, show you how to set up everything properly. The major session usually revolves around building a pet project step by step. They can go a bit more advanced, teaching you some context management techniques, showing you how to connect your project to your GitHub repository and deploy it to a server through MCP, etc., etc. So eventually you'll learn something. I get it. I took a similar vibe coding online course last year, and at the time, I truly felt I was ahead of 99% of people, but then the reality crept in. It wasn't until I migrated my project at work to GitHub Copilot and let agentic AI take over the whole data engineering pipeline that I realized one thing. It seems like I learned a lot from the vibe coding course, but meanwhile, I also felt getting nothing from it. Because here is a harsh truth. Think about how much context you feed into agentic AI to build a pet project from the online course. Maybe the objective of this tool, maybe creating some new sections, maybe adding a button on top right corner so that users can toggle between light and dark mode. That amount of context is like nothing. That's why it gives you the illusion that it's so easy, but when it comes to real work scenario, the amount of context of the project usually continues to grow bigger and bigger over time. And here are things I must think about as data engineer whenever I get a new request from stakeholders. How can I approach task breakdown so that each task is neither too granular nor too general for AI? On the list of tasks after breakdown, which of them can actually be handled better by myself, as there is a dependency between each module in a Python pipeline. To implement each task, which module do I allow or not allow AI to touch so that the one simple trick won't cause any breakdown? To build each function one step at a time, how can I translate business language into technical language the machine can understand? Namely, how should I drop the prompt properly? And is the current amount of context in the pipeline enough to build this function? Do I need to provide additional business information? How can I know if the solution from the AI is correct? What's the success criteria? If the output is not desirable, then what's the problem? Is it because task breakdown isn't done properly, or I failed to give clear instructions? How can I govern AI behavior so the process feels less like a black box? Should I require AI to write down what it has executed and which tool it has used in a markdown file? So look, these are the real questions that cannot be answered by chasing AI hypes, and they will eventually define the quality of the outcomes. You'll learn the real AI skills through applying them to the continuous workflow with large context, not to a simple pet project. Then, over time, you will develop intuition and good judgment. These are good quality that will eventually give you security that AI hypes can never offer you. So, you should gain your sense of security from this down-to-the-earth stuff, not from chasing the temporary high of getting ahead by buying AI courses or doom scrolling AI news on Twitter, but I know it's easier said than done. You feel trapped. So how can I truly set myself free from this AI anxiety? If that's a question in your mind, I need to ask you one thing. Have you ever given a thought to why there is a widespread AI anxiety? Does it come from yourself, or is there actually someone expecting you to get anxious? So let me tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. Not long before AI became such a hot topic, the tech industry was already very saturated, and there were not so many good opportunities for venture capital to invest. Therefore, to keep generating returns from the capital market, all this old money has to go somewhere. Then AI just happens to be the perfect direction. According to PitchBook data, AI companies captured 81% of global venture funding in the first quarter of 2026 alone, absorbing more than $240 billion in capital, and this is even reshaping this year's Forbes Media's list. So on this list, almost all top 10 companies are related to AI. To name you four most popular ones: OpenAI, SpaceX, Anthropic, and ByteDance. This year, in March 2026, OpenAI closed a record-setting $122 billion Series F financing at an $852 billion valuation, and had reportedly topped $25 billion in annualized revenue, but this number was only $3.7 billion at the end of 2023. So there's a huge demand for AI from venture capital. But let's take a look at the supply side. What many AI startups are actually doing. So here's a funny thing. There's a term called AI washing, which refers to the phenomena where many AI startups claim their AI products or AI services to be so powerful, so scary, and so revolutionary that they are gonna change human history. But they always overstate the capabilities of their technology and downplay the amount of human input involved. And what's behind it is merely wrapping existing foundation models like ChatGPT or Cloud AI with basic prompts. The objective is super clear: attracting money from investors. But these exaggerated narratives are being amplified by social media through layers of filters, so you, as the recipient of this information, it's quite natural to feel, wow, AI tools are getting updated at a dazzling pace, AI is now changing everything, but only I'm lagging behind. You sit at the end of this commercial chain, and your emotion is part of their business model. That's the root cause of your anxiety. But the good news is, knowing where your anxiety comes from has already solved half of the problem. This is how the other half of the problem can be solved. You have to pivot your attention away from chasing AI hypes. I'm not asking you to pay zero amount of attention to it. I admit at least keeping yourself up to date on what's going on won't cause any hurt. Spending a proper amount of time within your capacity to test open cloud can be good experience, but just don't take it too seriously, because if you throw your mind back into history, opportunities in any area usually come one after another. If you miss a bus, you can always get into the next one, but if you already catch one, perhaps don't squeeze too inside of it, because the bus might be heading to the direction that you don't want. Instead, your attention should be anchored on domain knowledge and AI fundamentals. So why domain knowledge? Just think about analyzing stocks with AI. Don't tell me someone without any expertise can get the same effect as Warren Buffett does just because they're equipped with AI tools. Without domain knowledge, AI will only amplify your mediocrity, but if you are expert in one domain, AI will be your leverage. Remember the documentary Animal World I mentioned? Stop chasing animals, behave like sniper, just stay at one spot with patience, observe closely, and wait until the animal you want to catch appears in your field of vision. Then why AI fundamentals? Because fundamental knowledge is always quite static. Most of AI hypes you've seen nowadays are actually built upon these fundamentals. For instance, if you grasp a chain of thoughts, calling functions, agent loops, OpenCloud is nothing fancy, but just a tool built upon this stuff, plus a gateway that allows it to access your WhatsApp or Telegram. That's it. So get yourself to learn fundamentals like the mechanism of transformers, what's going on within AI agents, how does chatbot return the temperature information when you ask about weather today. These are the knowledge dissected by lots of PhD papers many years ago that are still quoted by people today. When you grasp something static, you will never panic and feel like you have to learn something from scratch whenever new AI hypes emerge, because you know they are nothing advanced but just new combinations of fundamentals. Anxiety comes from unknowns, but fundamentals turn them into knowns. You started this video feeling anxious. Maybe you've installed 10 AI tools you never use. Maybe you've bought courses you never finish. Maybe you've been telling yourself, I just need to learn one more thing, then I will be safe. I'm here to tell you that day will never comes, because there'll always be another model, another tutorial, another headline telling you you're not good enough. The opposite of anxiety is not more information, it's focus. You don't need to know everything, you need to know something, but deeply. So just let the hype pass you by, and it will. Remember the Polish guy snoring on the couch at the Google event? Honestly, he might have had the healthiest response in the room. He wasn't anxious about missing Gemini Omni or her Gemma 4, he just needed some sleep. So one day, maybe a year from now, you will see people still running after the same shiny objects, exhausted and empty-hearted. Then you'll realize you're no longer in the race, not because you give up, but because you finally understand what's worth running towards. The bus you missed isn't your bus, and it will never be.